What's going on, y'all? It's your boy TJ, and I'm back with another video. And today I'll be discussing Earl Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, a fight that I really hope happens. And today I'll just be pretty much just breaking down the fighters and who I think would win and the possibility of this fight actually happening. Now, without further ado, I'm gonna just jump right into it. Okay. Earl Spence Jr. stands at 5'9". Okay. He has a 72-inch reach. So coming into this fight, Earl Spence Jr. naturally is the taller fighter, and he also is the longer fighter as well. So what I think he's gonna do is when he comes out, he's probably gonna end up working the body and then going upstairs and taking some shots to the head. Okay. And picking his spots very wisely, and he's gonna need to be patient. Sometimes Earl Spence, he gets into a rhythm where he starts taking risky shots, which is, not so good, not really the smart thing to do sometimes. Okay. And like I said, he's just gonna need to be the smarter fighter. Okay. Now, Terrence Crawford is 5'8", and he has a 70-inch reach. So naturally, he's the smaller fighter in this situation, not by very much. But like I said, Earl Spence, he can use, his reach and his height a little bit to his advantage, okay, to keep Terrence Crawford off of him, but not for long, okay. Now, Terrence Crawford, he's going to have to, pick his spots wisely as well. He's going to have to come out, he's going to have to open up with the jab, and then work the body, okay. So once he starts to open up with the jab a little bit and pick his spots wisely to the body, then he can open up and create headshots for him, okay. Now, here's where things get a little tricky though, okay. Earl Spence is a southpaw fighter. Southpaws are pretty hard to fight and to defend. And Terrence Crawford is an orthodox fighter, but he can fight southpaw, okay. So now, if Terrence Crawford comes out into this fight fighting southpaw, it's going to get a little tricky for Earl Spence, because now Terrence Crawford is going to be able to pretty much mirror and mimic what Earl Spence does throughout the fight. And, that's where Earl Spence Jr., he's going to have to switch up his game plan a little bit, get a little creative on things, start throwing feints, and, start really getting a little creative with his combos. But now, this fight could easily turn into one of those fights where it gets into the middle of the ring, they start standing toe-to-toe, chest-to-chest, and start throwing body blows at each other, okay? Then at that point, it's pretty much anyone's fight, okay? Now, both of these fighters really do not have a high knockout rate, okay? Terrence Crawford, his knockout rate is 76, and Earl Spence Jr. has a knockout rate of 79. Okay, Earl Spence Jr. Only has a 3% advantage over Terrence Crawford going into this fight. But honestly, I think that Earl Spence has a bit of an edge on Terrence Crawford. Sorry. So I think he has a better chance at winning this fight, and I would go with him to win this fight, particularly, in my opinion. Okay. Now, both these fighters are undefeated. Okay. Terrence Crawford has a record of 38-0 right now, and Earl Spence has a record of 28-0 right now. So both of these fighters, have outstanding records. Their records speak for themselves. They're both in the same weight class. So this is going to be a very interesting fight, regardless of how it goes. In my opinion, um, I do not think that this is going to be a knockout fight. Typically, I think this is one that's going to probably go the distance and, is probably going to stretch to the full 12 rounds. Or if there is a knockout in this fight, the knockout is probably going to end up happening later on in the fight, maybe probably towards, the 8th, 10th round, somewhere around there. But in my opinion, I do think that Earl Spence would take this fight, in my opinion. Okay. I feel like he's a bit more of the sharper fighter going into this fight. And, he's also a little bit younger, too, as well. But, in my opinion, in this fight, I'm going to go with, a bit of the younger guy, even though Terrence Crawford has a lot more experience in this fight. I just feel like the confidence level as far as Earl Spence, I feel like he could definitely take this one. Now, as far as this fight happening and actually happening, Terrence Crawford had came out and told ESPN about making this fight happen. He said, it's about reality. Hopefully, that's the plan. It's up to us to get the job done on the business side. It's up to us to be able to share the ring for all those guys who want to see us in the ring together. So pretty much, he definitely wants to make it happen. And, he wants to put on a show for the fans, which is a great thing. And Earl Spence, came out and said that, it's way closer than it used to be. I think it's definitely going to happen. So, hopefully this is something that, like I said, happens very soon, and, that they can get this done. You know what I'm saying? And regarding to the negotiation, both men seem to be on the same page. The details are still getting worked out in the background. However, the world boxing news understands that the pair are no longer pursuing other fights for 2022. So, they both seem to, they didn't have, a whole bunch of fights lined up right now, but I think they're looking towards getting this fight done, more or less, so to speak. So hopefully this is one that, we can all enjoy, hopefully by the end of the year. So leave in the comments below, what you guys think of this fight happening, and hopefully, like I said, it can happen soon. And leave in the comments, what you guys think would happen in this fight. Who do you guys pick? Who do you guys would pick to win in this fight? So, those are my thoughts on that whole situation, and I will catch y'all next time. Peace.